This video is going to primarily be for coaches, but if you're an upper rank and someone who contributes greatly to the culture of your own environment, I still think this is an important video for you. How do you crush negative behavior in your school? Well, like most things, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Prevention is a lot better than having to address behavior that you didn't set expectations on. So the first thing you should do is to set clear expectations early on for every new person that walks into the school about how you do things, the kind of culture and the behavior that you expect from people. First, you should develop a culture of looking out for your training partner above desiring to win the current exchange. So I've talked about this before, but when you're training with somebody, your primary desire should be to look out for your training partner and make sure that they're not going to get hurt, not to win whatever round you're doing, right? We are not competing in here. We are not doing a professional jiu-jitsu match when we go out and roll. We are trying to get better. If you hurt your training partners, not only is that a completely shitty thing to do, you just laid someone off. Now they can't get on the mat anymore, at least for a while until their injury heals, not to mention any financial hardship that they might go through if it's a serious injury and if they can't go to work, if they have hospital bills. So you have to look out for each other in here, and you have to develop a culture of everybody understanding like, hey, we're here to train, we're here to get better, but we're not going to injure each other, and we're not going to get so competitive that we lose sight of that. The second thing you have to impress upon people is that they need to tap early and they need to tap often. Yes, somebody may be great about looking out for their training partners, but perhaps when they themselves are the ones getting put in submissions or getting put in dangerous positions, they're being stubborn and they're being stupid and they're setting themselves up for injury. You got to make sure you make clear to people that, hey, I don't care if you tap. I don't care when my students tap at all. Never have. If it's something that I think they shouldn't have tapped to, address it with them, right? But it's not a big deal. If they tap too late, I always make sure I let them know, hey, you are risking injury. You're lucky your training partner was looking out for you. If you were in an open mat somewhere else that maybe doesn't have the culture that we have here, you might have gotten hurt because of your own stubbornness. So you have to be careful. I impress upon people. In jiu-jitsu, we tap. Tapping is how you get better, right? You learn from your mistakes and you get better the next round. But you have to do it, right? Every black belt is tapped thousands of times, right? That's what everybody says. No doubt, there's a lot of truth to that. So tap early, tap often. Third expectation you want to set with people is to kill spazziness. So I say it this way. If you don't know where your body is going with your movement, don't do it. If you are just trying to explode out of stuff and you have no idea where you're going to go and where you're going to land, don't do it. That is how you hurt yourself. If you get put in a position that you're unfamiliar with and you try to spaz out, you could hurt yourself. You could also hurt your training partner because you're not aware of where your body is going and where you're going to land. To kill spazziness, be controlled and deliberate with your movements, right? Make sure you know where you're going. And for beginners, it's going to be tough for them because they don't know a lot of the movements of jiu-jitsu, so everything that they're doing is out of instinct. What I've done with them is, first of all, I don't let anyone wrestle until they have 6 months of experience, so they can do the wrestling drill that I do, the 3-and-3 drill. I've talked about it before, but I don't let them actually live wrestle because a lot of injuries come from that, from people not knowing how to fall properly to every takedown, getting into scrambles and positions that they don't know how to deal with, and they make a wrong move and they hurt themselves or they hurt somebody else. If they have less than 6 months experience, I don't let them start standing. For new people, the biggest thing that I do is I either make them, if they're going to do a live round, I make them roll with more experienced people than them, right? So blue belt and up. Or if they're rolling with someone that's inexperienced like themselves, I have them do only positional drills from whatever position we're working on in the curriculum, because at least then they know the movements that they're supposed to do and they recognize what they're supposed to do both from the top and bottom position. Whereas if they go to a random position in a live roll they may not know, the chance of injury goes up. So for new people, that is what I've started doing with their rolls, and I think it's had a very positive impact on their learning ability, and it's lowered the risk of injury. Lastly, if you are an upper rank, you are expected to help others, and you are expected to help enforce the standards of the school. If you're a blue belt or above, and you see that someone is not following the standards that the coach has set and that you know to be part of the culture where, hey, you know, they're finishing submissions too fast. And by the way, it might not be anything malicious, right? They just may not know that it's not a safe speed for them to finish submissions. That is something that you should address with them. It goes for anything. You know, hey, you're being stubborn. You know, I had that armbar on you for several seconds. You know, I'm being nice, but, you know, you should have tapped earlier. These are all things that as an upper rank you can communicate to the new people and make sure that they understand and this knowledge gets passed on. Again, if you're an upper rank, you have a responsibility that you must set an example for everybody else. Everybody obviously looks to the coach and you know, the people teaching class as the cultural standard, but everyone beneath them, especially if they're an upper rank, matters too, right? If you help enforce those standards and you set a good culture for your school, that makes a big impact. So what you guys do matters a lot, and it's why I respect the people that have been with me long enough, or you know, that come with outside jiu-jitsu knowledge so much that I have graded discounts for each rank. Blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. For every belt, it's a $20 discount, and I let black belts train for free because they contribute a lot of knowledge and a good cultural attitude towards the school and a good enforcement of those standards towards the school. So what you guys do and how you behave matters a lot. The underranked people, the white belts, right, they take their cues from you. So make sure that you guys are setting a good example. Outside of the early expectations, what happens if someone is, negatively behaving in your school that goes against the cultural standards that you have? Well, depending on the severity, right, let's say it's not a super severe thing. Maybe they're overcome with a desire to win and they're making unsafe movements in the role. The first thing you do is you talk to the person, right? Always have a conversation with them. It's like, hey, what you're doing is not okay. And this needs to stop because X, Y, Z reason. If that does not work, you can try to mat enforce. You can roll with them the way that they're rolling with others and then explain to them, this is what you're doing, this is how it feels, and this is why I want you to stop. So if the conversation doesn't work, oftentimes just being a mat enforcer and having a rough roll with somebody, that's obviously not going to injure them. When I say this, I don't mean like try to deliberately injure them or anything stupid like that. I mean just roll with them roughly and have them experience the way that they're rolling so that they can understand why it's not okay. And then after that roll, you once again have that conversation with the person. If after that point, the behavior does not change, you start restricting their behavior. You start saying, I've talked to you about this many times. I've rolled with you in this way to make you understand that this is not the way that we do things. Here's what we're going to do. You are not allowed to do anything besides flow roll for a month, 2 months, 3 months, etc., or however long you feel like you need to do it. Or just say you are not allowed to submit anybody for 1 month, right, or 6 weeks, or whatever. Get them to go through that ego death to realize that they're doing this wrong and that they're going to hurt somebody, right? I've had success with this method before. I've used it with several people. Now, I've never had anything happen beyond that point. Usually, if it gets to that point, once you start restricting their behavior and you get them to work on the thing that is going against your standards, for me, every time I've tried it, it's been successful. If after that point, you still have not seen a behavioral change, or even worse, right, they ignore the restrictions that you've given them for the role. At that point, you need to look at kicking this person out. They've become too cancerous for the gym environment. They are not willing to respect the rules that you've given, and they're going to continue to cause damage. You need to establish order. You need to make people understand that these standards are important and they will be enforced. And if you don't follow them, you're going to get kicked out. Try to do everything you can to avoid that point, but some people, I guess, are stubborn and they don't want to learn, and you got to let them go. I haven't had to kick anyone out for this reason. I've had to kick people out for other reasons, but not for this reason. If I were to impose restrictions on someone's behavior during rolls in order to get them to fix an issue, and they ignore my directives, or they just go right back to doing what they were doing before, right? Now you got to start approaching that level of reaction. And you're doing this to make sure that you protect everything that you've built in your school, that you protect the students that are currently in your school from bad behavior, from people that might injure them, from people that are not looking out for them and are just contributing to a toxic environment. You got to remove those people because those people are a cancer. Your gym is the Garden of Eden, and you don't want to let snakes into your garden because they'll mess everything up. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Even if you're not a coach, if you're an upper rank or you're a white belt aspiring to be an upper rank, I think this is an important thing for you guys to consider. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell so you guys get notified every time we have new content out there. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.